Eleanor Carter was 74 years old and lived in the small town of Maple Hill, Oregon. Known in her neighborhood for her sparkling wit, wild stories from the 60s, and her legendary blueberry pie, she didn't look or act her age. Every morning at 6 a.m., Eleanor would tie her sneakers, fill her reusable bottle, and head out for her 5-mile walk through the nature trails behind her house. Even when it rained, even when it snowed, and even when her younger neighbors found excuses to stay indoors. "I'm not just walking," she would say. "I'm walking toward 100. Eleanor had a quiet mantra. If she could still do 6 specific things, she was going to stick around long enough to watch her great-granddaughter graduate from college. She was no doctor, but over the years, her own doctor, friends, and local wellness experts had confirmed she was onto something powerful. It all started when she turned 65. Her husband, Paul, had passed away from complications after a stroke. They had been together for over 4 decades. Losing him could have destroyed her, and for a while, it almost did. But Eleanor made a promise to herself the night after his funeral. She wouldn't let grief or age steal her spirit. She was going to live fully. She pulled out a notepad, sat at the kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea, and wrote down a list titled, "If I can still do these things, I'm doing all right." The list eventually became her ritual, her code, her guide through the next 2 decades. One sunny afternoon, her grandson David, now a wellness vlogger in Los Angeles, visited Eleanor. As always, she greeted him with that feisty grin and a firm hug. Over homemade iced tea and her signature pie, David asked her what her secret was. "Everyone in your age group is dealing with medications, wheelchairs, or memory lapses, Grandma. You're out here power walking, lifting groceries, and remembering every embarrassing thing I did as a child." Eleanor laughed, leaned forward, and tapped her forehead. "It's these 6 things, kiddo. If you can still do them between 65 and 85, you're a rare treasure, and you'll probably live to 100. David, being the content creator he was, pulled out his phone and hit record. Eleanor raised her eyebrows, but didn't object. She loved sharing stories, and if her habits could help others, she was all for it. "First," she began, "you've got to be able to move on your own. I'm not talking about running marathons, though if you can, bless your soul. I mean being able to get out of bed, go for walks, climb stairs, and stretch your limbs without aching in every joint. If you can walk without a cane, lift your arms to hang laundry, and get up from the couch without help, that's your body saying, 'I've still got life in me.'" David nodded, smiling. "Mobility. Got it." Eleanor leaned back. "Second, you've got to have a sharp memory. Remembering birthdays, names, where you put your keys. If your brain is still firing and you're curious about the world, reading the news, asking questions, playing puzzle games, you're in good shape." David laughed. "You still beat me at Scrabble." "Every time," she grinned. "Third," she continued, "you need emotional balance. At our age, we've lost people. Friends, spouses, sometimes children. But if you can still find joy in the little things, a blooming flower, a good book, a phone call from a friend, then your spirit is alive. Emotional resilience is one of the strongest signs you'll live a long, peaceful life." David looked up from his phone, genuinely moved. "That's beautiful." Eleanor nodded. "Fourth, your social life. I'm serious. If you're still meeting friends for coffee, chatting with neighbors, calling family, or even flirting a little at the community center, it keeps you young. Loneliness is dangerous. Connection keeps the heart warm." "Wait, Grandma, are you flirting with someone?" David teased. "Only with the pharmacist," she replied with a wink. "He's 81 and still drives a Mustang." David burst out laughing. "Fifth," she said, getting serious again, "your sense of independence. If you're still making your own meals, taking care of your home, even if you downsize, managing your finances, and deciding how to spend your time, that's priceless. Feeling useful keeps us alive." "And number 6? Purpose," Eleanor said softly. "If you wake up in the morning with something to do, someone to help, something to look forward to, then age doesn't matter. Purpose is fuel. That's why I volunteer at the library. That's why I tend my garden. That's why I write letters to my great-grandkids. I want to leave more than memories. I want to leave a legacy." David was speechless. He ended up turning that video into a documentary-style post that went viral. Thousands of seniors commented about their own habits. Families sent him messages saying how it inspired their parents and grandparents. Eleanor became a bit of a local celebrity. But for her, none of it was about fame. It was about life. One morning, Eleanor was walking the trail when she saw a woman sitting on a bench, crying quietly. She slowed down and approached gently. "You all right, dear?" she asked. The woman, probably in her late 60s, wiped her tears. "I just moved here. I lost my husband 3 months ago. I feel so lost." Eleanor sat down beside her. "I know that feeling. I lost mine years ago. It's like losing part of your breath." The woman nodded, clearly comforted. Eleanor took her hand. "But you're still breathing. You're still walking. You're still here. That means you've still got something to give." They talked for over an hour. By the end of the conversation, the woman smiled for the first time in weeks. Her name was Margaret. She and Eleanor became walking buddies every morning after that. Years passed. Eleanor celebrated her 90th birthday surrounded by friends, family, and a community that cherished her wisdom. David flew in from Los Angeles with his kids. He gave a speech at her birthday party and shared again the story of the 6 things. Everyone applauded, and Eleanor stood up with her cane, not because she needed it, but because it matched her outfit. She looked around and said, "Don't fear growing old. Fear stopping before your time. Keep moving.
Keep loving. Keep laughing."
If you're still doing those 6 things, then darling, you're not just old. You're a miracle in motion. When Eleanor turned 100, a local news team came to her home for an interview. Her blueberry pie was still award-winning. Her eyes still sparkled with fire. And yes, she still walked every morning with Margaret. What made Eleanor special wasn't that she never aged. It was that she never stopped living. If you're between 65 and 85 and can still move on your own, remember names, smile after a hard day, connect with others, care for yourself, and wake up with a purpose, you're like Eleanor.